This is a JTP Audio podcast.
Welcome to Flight in the Pint, Episode 2. We are here live on site at Icarus Brewing in Lakewood, New Jersey. I got Jay Goldstein here. Jason, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you for asking.
I'm always doing super duper good.
I'm at Icarus at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. How bad could that possibly
Yeah,
be?
you can't
Man, this is
complain
great.
about that bad boy.
I am not above day drinking if it's for the good of the show. My name's Jason Portizo.
I am Nathan Dickinson.
I will introduce myself as Walter Wilson.
Nice. So we are, like I said, in Icarus Brewing, Lakewood, New Jersey. Jason, give us the elevator pitch. Give us the brief history of where we're sitting right now.
So you're at Icarus, Lakewood, New Jersey. We're a small brewery, opened up about 3.5 years ago, and also just reopened, thanks pandemic. We are selling beer all over the state of New Jersey. Constant growing, known to a large part for our Northeast IPAs, hopefully also for our lager, stouts, just wide variety of styles. Always trying to stay on the cutting edge of everything new, keeping it fun and keeping it fresh.
Yeah, I've come to this brewery a bunch of times. Spent a lot of time in this tap room. One of the things that I like most about the tap room is the artwork here. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our resident cellarman, Josh Dogmatic, he's a huge part of everything we do around here from day one, drawing a massive 1,000 square foot mural across our warehouse wall, which is currently where our barrel racks are, to the art that completely surrounds us in the tap room, pulling a piece of our beer into all of his artwork that describes Icarus, drawing up all the bands we've hosted here, doing just live art. It's always just something super unique and interesting that always makes sense in Dogmatic's head, and we can interpret it however we'd like.
I feel like a lot of things make sense in Dogmatic's head. We're going to get some pictures of a lot of the artwork on here, including what we can of the mural. It's kind of looks like you're in COVID mode over there, but we'll take whatever pictures we can. We'll put them up on our Instagram. It's at Flight in a Pint. Go follow us on there and check out what we've got going on here at Icarus. What started it all here? What was the first couple of things that came out of here?
You mean like the first beers?
The first few beers, yeah.
So we started with an array of beers that we mostly don't do anymore. We started with a Panic Pale Ale. We started with a Red Ale. Started with a Smoked Pilsner, which I always hope to bring back. And then probably my favorite beer I make, Chewbacca, our Doppelbock, named after my dog, that I've been brewing for the last 7 years.
Shout out Chewie.
Exactly.
I want you to take another run at that before the devil knows you're red. That red ale was really delicious.
I think you were the only person that drank all 10 barrels.
Thank you.
I had
Personal
one.
achievement.
I had one.
One barrel?
Probably.
Speaking about the different types of beer that you make, what would you say is your favorite style of beer?
So my favorite style of beer would probably be, it's always changing, but right now it's just clean lagers. The pandemic allowed us, because of, everything was slower, we're closed, to just dedicate more of our tank time to lagers, let things sit a little bit longer. Created a whole new Pilsner series out of it, the Pound of Feathers series. Whether it be our Marzens, whether it be our Hells, always just lighter lagers, just because they can truly give you the intricacies of beer. You get all the subtle flavors that the 6 pounds per barrel of dry hops or Belgian yeast or roasted malts don't cover up.
Can you take us through how you started getting into the brewing process and what that was like for you?
So at this point, I've been brewing for the better part of the last 12 years. Started brewing when I was in college, took a job at a brewery while I was living in Ohio, sort of focused my major from food science into food fermentation, took more and more classes that somewhat revolved around brewing while working at breweries. From there, I graduated, moved to England, brewed out there, studied under the brewmaster for Heineken in Newcastle, got more degrees in cask ale, which I haven't done since because this is, U.S. and we don't really like traditional things. Everything has to be new and exciting. And I've just sort of developed ever since.
What is the most new and exciting thing that has happened in the beer world?
So a lot of times lately it has to do with yeast. Whether it be lately, it's a lot of, I'm going to butcher the name because I don't speak Norwegian, Kvik yeasts, KVEIK. You can take your own shots at it. You'll probably pronounce it just as terribly as I did.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kajavik yeast.
Exactly, that one. And that ferments a lot hotter. It's a traditional farmhouse yeast. They were using it, fermenting all through the summer, fermenting lighter alcohol, heavier alcohol, anything they wanted to, and it's just an extremely hardy yeast. Whereas most of my beers right now can ferment in 2 to 3 weeks. With Kvik yeast, it's probably about 2 to 5 days.
Wow.
And it'll be, instead of at 68 to 70 degrees, it'll be at 90 plus. And you're getting some extremely unique flavors out of it. People using it for the Northeast IPAs. But there's also really clean strands that they're doing almost mock lagers with that taste just like some nice clean lagers, except in, 6 days instead of 2 months. So it's always unique what science can bring into beer.
What about in like beer technology? Any major improvements recently in any of the equipment that you're using?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always trying to up our analytical game, our QA, QC. We're not reinventing the wheel in any way. There's a lot smarter people out there than us that, develop these things. But we recently bought a new piece of testing equipment called a C-Box that allow us to get the exact CO2 and dissolved oxygen in all of our packaged beer, whether it be in a bright tank, whether it be in a can or a bottle. Brings our precision down to 1 extra decimal point on testing, keeps that just constant quality check on, knowing that each beer, each time we release the same beer, it's going to be at the same carbonation level, and we don't have any dissolved oxygen levels, which kill the shelf life of a beer. So we can just be that much more consistent and also keep our quality control just dialed in.
All right. How about we talk about this beer that we have here right now, our Pint.
So the first beer I poured for you guys, a really special one. This is Making Whoopi, which is a dessert stout that we make with marshmallows and cocoa nibs. Extremely rich, extremely, like a Whoopi pie, which was the namesake for it. Then we aged this in Knob Creek barrels for, the better part of a year. I don't remember the number of months offhand, but better part of a year. And it just pulled even more vanilla notes. The oak just leaves it so well rounded and just tastes like the best Whoopi pie I've ever had.
That's a great smell on it too. It's a very like just like a vanilla.
Definitely have a very strong bourbon smell to it. And the taste is very creamy
so smooth,
too.
Yeah.
And it's not on nitro, right? It's just
that's just standard CO2.
It's like it's almost like I said, creamy enough to it feels like a nitro.
And also, it's clocking in at like 8%.
Yeah.
So unlike some other even more robust stouts, it's not like on top of you automatically, which is great.
Yeah, instead this is a dessert stout, a pastry stout. So what that means is we'll take it, instead of boiling it for an hour or two, this was probably boiled for about 8 hours. You let all those dextrins build up, non-fermentable sugars. So rather than create alcohol, thin it out, it stays a lot richer, a lot sweeter. Those dextrins are great at pulling flavor off of the oak. That's how you get those rich vanillas and end up with a beer at the end of the barrel aging process that still has a solid amount of body to it.
And it's passing my opacity test too. One of my favorite beers are the ones you can't see through.
Oh yeah.
If it stops me from seeing Walter, then it's a good beer.
Anything that stops you from seeing me.
Well, that's fantastic.
Thank
My
you.
favorite beers are the ones that get you really, really drunk.
What about two?
I guess you could say that about all the beers.
About 2 of these will get me there. That's this is the kind of beer that I like too. I like really thick stuff. I like really the good like rich beers that come with a nap when they're done.
And I also, I think some of my favorite beers from Icarus are your barrel-aged stuff. You do a lot of very good barrel-aged beers.
Thank you.
Other than beers, what would you say your non-beer hobbies are?
So, I mean, beer definitely takes up most of my life. But, when I'm not here, member at a local firehouse. So I do that as, more or less a hobby. In addition, travel. I mean, again, it's going to be a constant thing, but thanks pandemic. Normally, to bring beer into the rest of my world, I'm constantly trying to travel, brew with other breweries. I normally go to Colorado every year, brew with a few breweries out there. Travel wherever I can, just explore the beer world and see like what other places are doing, bringing my passion of beer into everything else, and having a little fun while I'm doing it.
You have done a couple of collaborations over the past couple of years. Is there anyone that you haven't done collaboration with yet that you would want to?
Yeah, I mean, there's always those high-minded goals. I feel like everyone locally wants to do a beer at some point with someone like Other Half. They're the behemoth on the East Coast. I used to work down the block for them, was a regular there. They're doing phenomenal stuff. I'd also love to work with Finback out of Queens. There's just so many places doing unique things that it's just, I would love to get a few ideas off of on, because I feel like that's how breweries in general always get better. It's just learning new things. And a lot of times that's, work with someone else and you see, well, we're each doing the same thing. We're just getting there two different ways. And you pull an idea from them, they pull an idea from you. And somehow you both end up with better beer at the end.
As a head brewer, owner, and I assume janitor around here.
Lead janitor, yeah.
Can you take us through your day? Like, what is your normal big brewing day look like?
I take the term normal as loosely as you need to take it.
I don't remember normal, but in general, we start our brew days at about 5 a.m. So we get here, we have our grain already laid out for the night before. We try to prep as much as possible. Crushing grain. We're going through batches all through the day on our quadruple brew days. We're going from 5 a.m. till about 11 p.m. 2 different groups, but brewing all through that. At this point, I have to put on my second hat, sit down at my computer, try and get whatever paperwork I can done during downtime. In between that, I'm prepping for the rest of the brew week. In between that, I'm dealing with my least favorite part of the job, the governmental affairs, whether it be permitting, whether it be taxes, and all the other bureaucratic parts of this, the fun stuff.
For those listening at the audio-only portion of the podcast and not watching on YouTube, he did finger quotes around the word taxes.
He's not saying that the state is run by mobsters and shakedown artists.
No, that's what Trash Boat is saying.
But we are saying it is New Jersey. By the way, check us out on YouTube if you're not already.
Sweet plug. That was great.
All the links can be found at lightandpintpodcast.com.
So other than the artwork, what else would you say would draw people back to your tap room time and again?
The biggest thing for us is always just staying innovative. We're releasing typically 3 to 4 new beers every week. Not all of those are brand new. Some of them are in rotation, bringing back old favorites. But other times it is, hey, we got 11 pounds, this one experimental hop, or we want to test out this new yeast or this new process or whatever else. And it might be a batch not big enough to make it into cans. So it might end up being a taproom exclusive or a small batch barrel age release. Like the beer you're drinking right now, barrel age making Whoopi. It was a small batch, didn't make it into bottles. It was only ever a taproom exclusive and then a few events here and there. So we're always putting more exclusive stuff on here and then just keeping the tap list fresh. Like normally, like if you skip a few weeks here, you might look at the tap list and it's completely new from the last time you were here.
Oh, I've done it. Back when events were a thing, what kind of things were you hosting here?
So we're always big on community involvement. We're hosting fundraisers, charity events back and forth, working with any local groups we can. Also trying to keep it fun, trying to become almost like a patron of the arts, bring in local bands, bring in just fun stuff, getting regional bands in, just trying to keep it exciting because the whole history of craft beer is in that punk sort of mindset of doing something different and weird, and that's where like beer and art tends to play into what we do. So just throwing ideas back and forth with bands, getting stuff going here, and then just generally having fun with all the space we have and all that.
I think one of my favorite nights here was when I played here with my band and World Inferno Friendship Society played as well, and that was just an amazingly fun night.
I'd say the Halloween show with Windward and Daughter Vision. was
Yeah.
probably one of the coolest things that I got. I was running sound for that one. That was a lot of fun. I found some pictures from that the other night. They were great. We'll post some of those pictures too on the Instagram.
And aside from the live bands, you do have a pretty nice record collection here with some nice music spinning most of the time.
Yeah,
Let's talk wax.
yeah, that's been a growing collection for us. It started with, maybe like 25 records that I brought in. And then from there, ended up growing to where everyone who worked in the tap room, while they're working, they want to hear stuff they want to hear. So they'd bring in records, and then all of a sudden, customers started bringing boxes of records, whether it be things that, my wife told me I had to clear out the storage space. I'm never listening to these. I couldn't get rid of them. Please spin them. Or, where they just gift us things, or bands that we've had play here, giving us their vinyl.
Or Dogmatic's going to a record store and finding just the weirdest stuff he can find.
Yeah, I don't know if that's music.
I definitely got a few. I think I have some duplicates that I can definitely get rid of, and some things in the collection I got a call that you actually might really enjoy here. I'll bring some presents next time.
Thanks.
So, before we get into this flight, I want to get down to brass tacks here, Jason. How is my favorite person/dog in the whole world?
Chewie? He's doing great. He's 11 years old now, but he still acts like a puppy. I mean, he is still definitely the mascot of Icarus. I don't bring him here as much anymore just because, well, it's, forklifts moving back and forth and all that. And I think at 11, he's really enjoying the air conditioning, dog bed, water right there, and just, the general 20 hours of sleep a day.
I would too. That dog bed is super comfortable.
It is.
20
I slept
hours
on
of
it.
sleep sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, hardball question right now. Everyone in everybody's mind: is he a good boy?
He is the best boy.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I wasn't like super worried, but like I'm just glad to. I'm just happy to hear it.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the best boy.
Yeah, coming here and seeing him here was always great. He's a very friendly dog. But besides seeing your very good boy here, one of the favorite things I used to see is come into the back room, looking up on the racks and getting a glimpse of what's to come. I mean, even if it's just a little one-word name on your pallets there, it's fun to come here and be like, oh, that's coming. It's great to look forward to that too.
Want to dive into this flight?
Oh yeah.
Let's get a flight going. So in the number 1 slot in the flight, we've got your number 5 on the menu. Do you have the menu pulled up, Nathan?
Yep, that is Local Summer. Would you like to tell us about this beer, Jason?
Yeah, so that's a beer we recently released. Local Summer is a one-off variant on Invincible Summer. So after Labor Day around here, it's obviously called Local Summer. Beaches tend to clear up a bit. Boardwalks are a little bit more open. You can bring your best boys to the beach in a lot of places. So we took our spin on Invincible Summer, which is our coconut pale ale, and doubled down by adding dragon fruit into it. Just adding just a little bit of extra, like berry, dragon fruit sweetness to it to pair off with the coconut and really just bring it in a little bit.
It actually gives it almost like a guava taste to
I was going to say grapefruit.
Nice.
It ends up with like a kind of a tart, like grapefruit type of taste.
It does have a nice
really
grapefruit
like
color
it.
too as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. This is I love stuff with like a nice presentable color, and again, nice and almost like not quite not hazy, but it's definitely like it's opaque. This is this is a good like end of summer. This is something that'll cool you off.
And coming in at 6%, it's something that you can have a few of, and not have it be too taxing on you in the midday sun, during Local Summer.
Or 10 a.m. on a Saturday
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's got to work.
while you're recording your podcasts.
Yeah, and the flavors definitely work very well together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've had the Invincible Summer before as well, and this is a very good variation on it.
Have you planned other variations of this?
Not yet. I mean, everything's always some things we have planned out 6 months out. Some things are,
Yeah.
that would be neat.
One thing I always like is, have you ever had, and I'm sure every brewery has, and it's almost like you kind of don't want to admit it, and you kind of like are proud of how it turned out. What kind of happy accidents have you come up with?
So let's think. We had King and Country about a year ago.
I think I was here for that.
That was a nice like English porter. It was not meant to be an English porter.
What was it supposed to be?
It was supposed to be boiled an extra hour. We cut it short, and also supposed to be adjuncted. Adjuncts were never added. So it ended up just a tiny bit less sweet, and then without the adjuncts. And I was like, I'm looking through the recipe. I'm like, this is English porter, and it's a delicious version of it. And I would have never thought to release one, but like, I really liked it.
Yeah, it was very good.
Did you start doing it on purpose after that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, two things. One, I feel like one of your really great happy accidents was when you attempted to brew a black IPA.
I was just going to bring that up,
but
too.
it wound up being Singed Wings, a black lager, which tasted phenomenal and is still one of my favorite beers to drink ever.
That was one of your inaugural runs, wasn't it? Wasn't that
Yeah.
that was on your first menu?
Yeah, that was the first time we did it. That ended up being what it was because we tried to use whole hops in it before we realized this brew house is not designed to use whole hops in any way. Whereas normal hops we tend to use are pelletized. When they hit liquid, they sort of turn to powder, they clump, no big deal. When you use whole hops, you're using vegetal matter. The second you add them to liquid, they puff up. They're leaves, they're cones. Heat exchanger is a system of small pipes going through plates, lots of small spaces. Well, things that puff up in small spaces get trapped. So on one of our inaugural brew days, we realized, oh shit, this is happening. This is going to, instead of being an hour-long transfer, this is going to be 4 hours, and half the hops didn't even make it in. And so it didn't have the bitterness level, and it ended up, not like, we ended up just letting it sit a little bit longer in the fermenter, let it sit cool for a while, which is sort of how it got that lager type flavor. Ended up being just super unique and not something easily replicable, but it was delicious for what it was.
It was great. That was one. I remember because Dogmatic was working here at even then, and when he explained to me the story, it was the first thing I wanted, and it ended up being great. Ready to go to the number 2 slot?
Oh yeah.
Let's
Number
hit
2.
it.
This is number 8 on your menu. What do we have here?
Pound of Feathers.
So Pound of Feathers, that was the first in that new Feathers series. We started that up again, start of the pandemic. Hey, I have no idea if any of the beer that we're brewing right now if we'll ever actually sell it, or if, bars are a thing of the past and liquor stores are gone and we're now to be in a, complete, anarchist dystopia. In which case, well, at least we'll have fermenters filled with beer. And let's brew some stuff that we want. So I brewed Pound of Feathers, which is a American-style Imperial Pilsner with a blend of German malts, American hops. So that one has Citra in it, a lot of lupulin Citra, but not so much that it would taste dry hop like a Northeast IPA, not so much that it would taste overly citrus, but just enough so that it's a taste of citrus while still being a light, clean Pilsner.
So for the people who might not know, I mean, obviously I know, but what makes a beer an imperial beer?
Bigger.
Okay.
So in this case, it's 7% alcohol by volume. So it's just bigger than a standard Pilsner. Most Pilsners you have, if it's an American-style light Pilsner that you see in 12-ounce cans and 30 racks at stores, you're talking about like 4%. Some more craft Pilsners might be up to about 5%. This at 7 would be more of a imperial, so just bigger.
It definitely doesn't taste like it's a higher alcohol beer.
Yeah, it's nice, crisp, and clean. And so the way that you're achieving that higher AC percentage is the grain bill that
Yes.
you're using.
Yep, just more grain and still fermented a little bit cooler so you don't get the hotter alcohol flavors off the higher alcohol.
Awesome.
Yeah, for a decent ABV, this is still pretty crushable.
While we're talking about technical terms in beer, you had mentioned one of your favorite brewing terms is Vorlauf.
Yeah, so Vorlaufing. So number one, it just sounds badass. Someone asks what you're doing, Vorlaufing. It's like,
Say it again.
okay, you keep doing that. Like, good luck. Like, I hope it goes well. But all it really means is at the end of the mash before the sparge, you're taking whatever the sweet wort on the bottom of the mash tun, you're sending it off to the top, and you keep recirculating that way. That way the whole grain bed is even, and you don't end up with, your highest gravity just sitting there.
I thought that you meant dressing up like Frankenstein and walking around your brewing platform, but that is Karloffing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Very
And
similar.
that's more of an advanced style of brewing.
I thought it was that funk band out of Long Island, but that's Wolfpecking.
Oh, obviously. Well, you learn something new every day. Thank you very much for that.
Do it. Oh, that is great.
Oh, yeah.
All right down the line.
All right, so let's move on to the next beer. Looks like that
it
one
number
is
12?
Wax Wings, number 3.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
This implies the existence of 2 other Wax Wings.
Yeah, it's a constant rotating series. Wax Wings is our barrel fermented farmhouse ale. So we're instead of ever going into a fermenter, this is going right from the kettle to the heat exchanger, going right into the white wine barrels. In this case, a Chardonnay barrel, and then we pitch the yeast right in there. That way, these barrels are steamed, but at the same time, it's wood. They're still live. There's going to be some amount of bacteria in there that's going to let it go funky, and that funk is going to compete with the live yeast that we pitched. So it won't be a true, complete sour, but it'll have both elements inside of it. And then we let it sit in there for typically 6 to 12 months, pull whatever flavor out of that oak, out of the, pull some of that white wine out of it, and then just have an extremely complex set of flavors, mouthfeel, everything about it just being extremely unique, because going into a live oak barrel, no two will be the same.
And I said before that your barrel-aged beers are some of my favorite. This is one of my favorite. I really like the more funky types of beers. There's a good amount of funk on this, and I really get a good apricot flavor from it, too. Did that come from the Chardonnay barrels, or was that a product of the yeast?
That's probably a product of the yeast.
Yeah.
I really love farmhouses. I mean, when it comes to quote-unquote sour beers, like you said, the complexity of the flavor, anything that really challenges your palate and makes you actually think about the different aspects of the beer and the flavors that you're tasting, and it changes as you drink it. And also the funk to sour ratio is always a very important thing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of funk in there, but it's not overpowering.
We want
at
the
all.
funk.
Oh yeah, we definitely
gotta
want
have
it.
that funk.
But yeah, I think I was lucky enough to have all 3 versions so far, and this is probably one of the best that I've had so far.
Definitely top 3.
Definitely in the
Obviously,
top 3.
One thing that you really pride yourself on here is reusing and upcycling a lot. So tell me about some of the things that are made from what should have been scrap or garbage.
So yeah, since day one, we've been huge on reusing what we can for both green reasons as well as we're a startup. Anything we can reuse means cheap. So the chairs you're sitting on right now, just pallet wood, rebuilt. The barrels in front of you all had our beer inside of it at different times, and we just added tabletops around. Our back bar, all the siding. Well, number one, it's all made out of pallets that we had from opening. The siding on it, just the aluminum walls, from outside here. Our brewing platform is the metal the fermenters came shipped in on, cut up, rewelded, and we made a really nice platform out of it. Everything here, from what we use to everything we try to reuse, we reuse all of our yeast or as much as we can here to keep things consistent. We work with local farmers on getting our grain to, be feed for their animals. They'll take our spent grain, used for pigs, cows, sheep, whatever, chickens. And then in exchange, I tend to get, pork out of it, which is pretty cool.
That's a good exchange.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm all about it.
That is true farm to table.
And then back to the farm.
Back to the farm.
Yeah, actually, these chairs that we're sitting in right now, some of the screws that are countersunk into them were put there by yours truly.
Yeah, watch out for the ones that point out the sides, that are coming from the bottom and all the way through.
Those are Nathan's special chairs.
But so not only upcycling or recycling, but you source a lot of your ingredients locally as well.
Yeah, we've worked with local hop farms in the past. We've worked with local yeast suppliers. Some are national, some are more local, working with places, out of Maryland, D.C. area, working with, one out of New Jersey. Trying to use local where we can, work with local blueberries, work with any supplies we can get, from in our own state. I mean, this is the Garden State, so there are a few farm fresh things around.
All right, we got one left on our flight here. Let's wrap this thing up. Well, this is the number 10 on the menu. What do we have here?
So this is a double dry hop yacht juice with Citra. This is our Labor Day release. As much as we don't have any flagships around here, this is probably the beer that we're most known for, the base beer of that, yacht juice. It was the first true Northeast style IPA we released here and sort of just stuck. It's huge Citra, Mosaic, Columbus. It's not our craziest IPA in any way. It's not triple dry hopped. It's not 10%. It's not overly thick. I think it's so beloved because it is as delicious as it is for as smooth as it is.
It's very drinkable. It's not giving you that IPA, bitter hops punch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not getting a ton of hop sting on the back end.
No, I'm getting that citrus, that juicy citrus coming in first before you even get to the bitter
Absolutely.
hop.
There are a bunch of beers that, I get so excited about when you release them, but I set my calendar every year because I want this beer when it is released.
Yeah, all the hops do work very well together. Nice and a juicy or juice bomb, I guess, as they would call them.
Yep. And you've done different variations of this.
Yeah. So we've done double Citra. We've done double Mosaic. Norman Double Mosaic is our July 4th release. We've done it with Brew One. We probably haven't done as many double dry hops on yacht juice as we have, say, Power Juicer. Just because yacht juice is a deliciously clean beer and stands out because of how clean and how all the notes work in symphony with each other, which limits what you can throw in. Whereas some of these more over-the-top beers, the clash is almost what makes it delicious. So, we have to be a little bit more well thought in what works with yacht.
Speaking of what works well with things, what would you say is your favorite food to pair with beer?
So it really depends on what beer we're drinking. So right now, one of my favorite beers we have on tap right now is Neon Fantasy. So it's a Thai-style Northeast IPA with lemongrass and toasted coconut. Obviously, I pair that with Thai all the time. You throw that with a nice tom kha soup or Thai fried rice or anything, just full of flavor. It'll somehow still manage to cut through it. So it really depends what you're trying to eat, and then there's always that perfect beer for it. Something like Wax Wings can hold itself extremely well through a lot of foods just because of how distinct and how well that acidity cuts through things. I'm sure that'd be delicious with a red sauce, sort of like having a white wine with Italian. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like Kalishnikov or making Whoopi, those are obviously perfect to pair with any dessert.
Or steak.
Or steak, or eggs, or a hamburger.
Or you just crack the bottle and sit on your porch.
Or more Kalishnikov.
Or saltines with cheese and maybe an onion or something like that.
Yeah. That's a good snack.
Mm-hmm. As long as you have some hot mustard with it.
As long as you're not drinking it straight from the bottle. If you're going to lock yourself in the bathroom and drink a bottle of Kalishnikov, have a fancy glass.
And change your name to Nathan Dickinson.
Or Jason Portillo. I've definitely had some good nights with my bottle of Kalashnikov. One of the best gifts I received. I remember the bottling party. You did a bottle release of it. You sold out how many bottles in under a couple hours?
I don't remember the total number. We probably had some 500 bottles.
So yeah, so about 500.
Yeah, and then I think one variant of it was sold out within the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The rest was probably sold out.
I remember I was playing a gig that earlier that day. Nathan and his band were slated to play. I was just going to come and hang out. I remember sending you a text. I'm like, listen, I'm going to be there anyway. Let me set up and play. I just want to hang. And not only did you insist on paying me for it, which is a sign of a great host, but you came back with a bottle of the maple bourbon barrel Kalashnikov, knowing that it was going to be my favorite. And I've told people that story several times since then, just to say something nice. I'm going to finish this real quick.
Okay. So since you're opening, your brew house has grown pretty much exponentially. Can you take us through what your brew house looks like right now, and then also maybe give us a look into the future and see what are your plans? What do you see for yourself, for the brewery? What does it look like in 3 years, 5 years?
So when we first opened, we had our 10-barrel brew house with 4 fermenters totaling 60 barrels of fermentation capacity, which means we could do about, at full speed, 3,000 barrels a year. Since then, we have stayed on a 10-barrel brew system, much to my chagrin, and now have 200 barrels of fermentation capacity. So we could hypothetically, pull about 7,000-8,000 barrels a year. In all realistic numbers, we're probably going to be at about 5,000 barrels a year, just for quality control reasons.
And so that you can sleep.
That was never really a factor. Yeah.
That's what Dogmatic's for. Mm-hmm. He can pull the overnights.
And he does.
He absolutely does. We've lost a lot of great game nights to him doing overnights.
But our hope is always just continual growth. Just keep up with what we're doing while at the same time making sure quality's staying the same. As long as we don't see ever a drop in quality, as long as we're always getting better, we'll always stay with the same continual, paced growth where we're at. Hopefully adding a few more fermenters. Hopefully, one day going to a larger than a 10-barrel brew system, because that means that we can brew the same amount of beer in less hours, meaning maybe sleep. As well as, hopefully knocking down a wall or two here or putting up walls somewhere else or something, because we never designed this space for the rate of growth that we're at. During pandemic times, we'd have 150 people in here, probably space for 75. Right. Our cold room has space for 100 barrels of beer. We're throwing about 150 barrels in there every single week. Nothing here is really designed for what we're doing, but we've somehow made it work with a little bit more elbow grease and, and more Josh.
A little bit of chutzpah, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
Jason, thanks so much for sitting with us. Congratulations on your continued success. Everyone we talk to, when they start listing New Jersey breweries, they start naming the really small ones first, and then they go, "Oh yeah, of course, Icarus." Like you're kind of transcending to the point where you're one of the heavy hitters as far as local breweries go. So
yeah, almost ubiquitous.
Pretty much,
state,
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, it's like a given that they mention your name. So we are happy to be friends with you. Happy to be guest in your spot. Thanks so much for letting us sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, thanks for letting us come in and drink this early.
Yeah, we look forward to coming back to the tap room again.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys inviting me to this. And if you guys keep on drinking, I'll keep on brewing.
Done.
Sounds
Nice.
good. Fair trade.
So this has been episode 2 of Flight in a Pint. You can check us out at flightinapintpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at Flight in a Pint. Check out Jason at Icarus Brewing.
Yeah.
On Instagram and icarusbrewing.com. Where can they find info on a tap room?
Just on our web store.icarusbrewing.com. Make reservations to the tap room. Order beer for pickup or home delivery.
You hear that? Home delivery. Get beer sent to your house. You can already be drunk and get more beer.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's fantastic. Jason, once again, thank you so much. Let's run you into the show.
All right, let's finish these beers and get out of here.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.